Hello, everyone. Welcome to this expert presentation entitled The Personal Statement. We are so glad that you all are able to join us today. My name is Kristen Wimberly. I actually work with the Office of Youth Services, and I will be your moderator for this presentation. So the session will be recorded and posted on the event site for you to return to and watch again. This will also be of help to those individuals or who are unable to, join us today for the conference and live stream. So the Metro Atlanta College Access Conference event site will remain posted for the entire fall season. So you guys can return at any time to rewatch the presentation or any other presentations that you all have missed throughout the duration of the conference. So the session is being presented on Zoom webinar mode. All attendees are automatically muted to avoid unnecessary or inappropriate background noise. To participate in this live stream, use your Zoom interaction tools found at the bottom of your Zoom window. Depending on the type of device you are using, you may need to mouse over the button of the screen or window to see the toolbar, which has the background with the icons. So on that toolbar, you will see an icon labeled Q&A. So please click on that now to open a new window so that you are all set to use that function as needed. We will be monitoring the Q&A stream, and we will post the most commonly asked questions so that our experts at the end of the presentation can answer your questions. Today, we are honored to host Ethan Sawyer, a nationally recognized college essay expert and founder of the College Essay Guide. On behalf of College AIM and DeKalb County's Human Services Department Office of Youth Services, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Ethan and thank you all so much again for taking the time to present on this important topic. So let's begin. Ethan.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate you. And we're ending right at 45 past, right? So we got 41 minutes.
Yes.
So we'll do like 30 minutes of content and then we'll do like 10 for Q&A or something like that.
Yes, perfect.
All right, thank you. So hi y'all, welcome. I wish I could see y'all in person, but this is what we got. Yeah, like Kristen said, my name's Ethan. I spend 8 hours a day sitting in this room thinking about college essays. I've been thinking about this for like 15 years. So I'm the right person to talk to when it comes to this. What I want to do is, whether you're, I don't know if y'all are in 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, come into the session, but I want to guide you through a couple just simple exercises that are going to help you think about what might be a great topic. Some of y'all maybe have already written a personal statement, and so then I'm going to share with you what are some qualities of a great personal statement, like how do you know if it's doing your job, the job of the college essay, which I'll get to in just a second. And then I'm going to share with you a bunch of resources where you can find pretty much anything that's going to cover, pretty much any part of the college application process. So let's get into it. So I'm going to share with you something called, actually, let's play a game first. Let's start with a game. So y'all need somewhere to type or a pen and paper, something nearby. This is a really simple game, and it only takes a minute to play. And I'm going to illustrate it first. I'm going to grab my phone, which is sitting right here. And this first game goes like this. All right, so I'm going to make a list of things that I love. Now that's going to seem kind of random. You're going to be like, what does this have to do with college essays? Well, trust me, it's got something to do with it. I'll explain it to you in a few minutes. So I'm just going to do 30 seconds. My name's Ethan, and I love quiet. I love jazz. I love what do I love? I love barbecue sauce. I love rodeo cheeseburgers from Burger King. I don't know why I said that. I love a pen that writes really well. I love the color blue of this water bottle. I love my daughter. Okay, that was only 30 seconds. I want you all to do a minute. So I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute. And I want you to, just where you are, just start typing. Don't think about it too much. I just want you to randomly list some of the things that you love. All right, don't think about it too much. Just go with it. And I'm going to explain what this has to do with college essays in just a minute. So 3, 2, 1, what do you love? Go. Keep going. See if you can come up with a couple more. It doesn't have to make sense. Just keep riffing. You got about 15 seconds. What else do you love? All right, time's up. All right, next game. This one's called I Know. So I want you to, for a minute, make a list of things that you know a lot about. So for example, again, my name's Ethan. What do I know a little? I know a lot about college essays. I know a lot about basketball. I know a lot about nonfiction self-help books. I know a lot about the way the voice works. I know a lot about accents and doing voices. I know a lot about what else? Anyway, you get the idea. I could probably keep going, but I want y'all to do it. So make a list for about a minute of things that you know a lot about. 3, 2, 1, go. Keep going. What else you got? About 20 seconds. What else do you know about? It doesn't have to be a lot. It's just like, what do you know some stuff about? You could talk about this for a while. All right, time's up. All right. So here's how you can come up with an essay topic. So one of the ways, and I'm going to share with you all about 7 or 8 different ways, but one of the ways is to just take a blank sheet of paper, and I'm just going to grab one from my drawer here. And you basically, at the top of this sheet of paper, you write down something that you know a lot about. So for example, let's say I know a lot about games. That's one of the things on my list. So I write down games. So pick something that you think might make for an interesting college essay topic. And you might be like, well, Ethan, I don't know how this is going to relate to an essay topic. Stay with me. All right. And then once you've got something picked, what I want you to do is I want you to see how many different values you can connect it to. Now, what am I talking about values? I'm talking about these things. All right. So let's see. I got games picked out. So how could I connect games to different values? Well, for me, games for me connect to family because I played a lot of games with my family growing up. So I write down family. And then games for me could also connect to knowledge because I've learned a lot from playing different games, a lot about people, a lot about the way they think, you know, whether they're competitive or not. There are also like educational games that I've played. I've also developed some close relationships. That's kind of like family. There are also some games that I've played that I could connect to social change. Now, take a look at what I'm doing. I'm taking the thing that I know a lot about or that I love, and I'm just connecting it to different sides of me. And I'm creating, one of my students once called this a jellyfish. I'm creating a little jellyfish with my values. So if you can for a second, if you've got a piece of paper nearby, I find you can kind of do this mentally. Ask yourself, all right, is there something that I know a lot about that I could maybe connect to a lot of different values? And why do I think it's useful to connect to values? Because this is what one of the things that colleges are interested in. What are the things that you care about? What are your values? What do you stand for? Okay. And this is a quick way to sort of test this. Now, if you're doing this and you look at it and you're like, wow, I can't really connect this to many of these values, try something else. Because I'll bet you, if there's something that you really care a lot about, you'll be able to connect it relatively easily to different values. So I want you to just take like a minute to look at this list for a second and see if you can pick something from your list and see if you can connect it to a few of these different values. See if you can connect to like 3 or 4 different ones. Yeah. This is just one way of potentially coming up with a personal statement topic. And the point that I want to make with y'all here is that some of y'all are like, oh yeah, I can connect to a lot of things. And some of y'all are being like, oh, I can't really connect it to many things. This might not be the way that you find your personal statement topic. But the main thing that I'm trying to draw out here is, number one, what colleges want to know about is what are the values that you're bringing with you to the college campus. Now, how you talk about that is kind of up to you. But let me give you some other options. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share this tool. And then at the end of the session, I'm going to share with you how you can get access to it. So this is what I call the Choose Your Own Adventure essay tool. Now, when it comes to writing your personal statement, you can, if you want, write about challenges you faced. And I won't have too much time today because we're kind of on a short time to get into the details of that. I'm going to focus on what if you don't want to write about challenges. But in the tool, if you want to process some challenges you've been through and see if it could turn to a good essay topic, you'll be able to do that through the narrative structure. All right. So this past year, I went through 300 essays. And what I found is that there were 7 different ways that students were generating their personal statement topics. Okay. Now, again, the purpose of the personal statement is to demonstrate the values that you're bringing with you to college and also the skills, qualities, and interests that make up who you are. Okay. And one of the ways to do that is by taking something that you love or know a lot about. Now, some students write about things like, they love animals or they love different books, okay? And each book represents a different side of who they are. Or some students write about a subject, like they love history or they love, rocks or they love science. And and you'll see this in the tool, there's a way to take this, create a simple outline. You can turn this into an essay. For example, this guy loves animals. I'm not going to read the essay right now, just for the sake of time. And he picked an animal. He raised a bunch of animals with his family. And he basically focused on a different value for each paragraph. So quails taught him the value of patience. This lamb taught him the value of trust. And then this trying to raise seahorses, of all things, taught him about science. So each one of these allows him to show different sides of who he is and what's important to him. But that's not the only way to come up with an essay topic, like I said. It could be that you just choose a set of what I call essence objects. Now, essence objects are objects that are specific things that represent important relationships in your life or memories that you have. So this student, for example, just chose stuff in his room, right? And he talks about, for example, his laptop that sits in the center of his desk. And his laptop is his first choice vehicle as he drives through a life of curiosity. So again, he's taking that object and he's connecting it to a value. What does that represent to you? Well, for me, my laptop represents my sense of curiosity. And in this, he gives a lot of specifics about, well, what do you mean curiosity? Well, he does like stress analysis tests. He's learned how to make an origami lily, or he watches TED Talks on why people find it difficult to poop away from home, right? Interest in psychology. My laptop has allowed me to find different versions of myself. But he doesn't just stop with one object. He's got a stack of books that he talks about. And he talks about all these different books. He picks one in particular, and it talks about how he's developed as a leader. So you can see his outline. His laptop is all about curiosity. This one book, Way of the Seal, has taught him leadership. And then he also talks in the essay about the specific bead bracelet that he has that connects him with his family. So each of these objects, tangible, physical things, connect to a different side of who he is. So that's another way to do it. And there's an exercise connected to this that I'll show you how to find in just a little bit. Then you've got the skill or superpower. So you have skills and superpowers, things that you're great at. Let me give you some different ideas. Some students talk about things like, their superpowers like recognizing patterns or, being really detail focused. Maybe their thing is solving problems. And you could take whatever this skill or superpower is and you put it here at the top of your, brainstorm, and you connect it to different moments, different examples, different experiences, or like I said, different values. But maybe you do some uncommon things, like maybe you like to, give presents, or maybe you like to improvise music, or, translating in many different ways. So you can take any one of these things, potentially turn it into an essay. So here's a student's essay her thing was building and problem solving. And each of these paragraphs talks about some different way that she evolved her superpower of building and problem solving. Now there's another student down here who's beatboxing. That was his superpower. And each paragraph talks about how beatboxing helped him evolve some different side of himself. Okay, and then you create this simple outline where it's like when he was a kid, he studied Indian classical music before he learned beatboxing. And that shows the values of family and culture. And then he got into mainstream American music. And through that, he learned dedication, which you can see in the essay a little bit later. So my point here again is with each of these pieces of the essay, they're showing values. Here's some other ideas. It could be that you've got a career in mind. Let's say you've got, a career that you're really excited about, level 7 out of 10 or above. And you're like, I'm super committed to this. You could write your whole essay based on that career. Other students, that I've met have written about everything from art history to engineering, to forensics, to sportscasting. And the key for this type of essay is figuring out, okay, what are those qualities, skills, and like I said, values that I've developed that would help me in that future career? And so the brainstorm for this path would be to just brainstorm, okay, let's say you want to be an engineer. Okay, what are those qualities of a great engineer? Well, maybe an engineer values efficiency, or maybe they value art. Maybe that's important to you. Coming up with specific examples that would demonstrate, yeah, efficiency is really important to me. I try to be efficient in all these things. Give me some examples. Art. Well, when did art become important to you? Talk to me about that. Talk to me about your creativity. That's another paragraph. And then kind of putting these paragraphs together. Don't worry, I'll give you an example essay in just a minute to show how these things would develop to create that potential career. Okay. There's an example essay here. I'll just give you some pieces of it. As a kid, I was always curious. Notice the value. I was unafraid to ask questions and didn't worry how dumb they would make me sound. In second grade, I enrolled in a summer science program and built a solar-powered oven that baked real cookies. I remember obsessing over the smallest details. Should I paint the oven black to absorb more heat? What about its shape? A spherical shape would allow for more volume, but would it trap heat as well as conventional rectangular ovens? See all these smart questions that really show his curiosity at work? Even then, he says, I was obsessed with the details of design. And it didn't stop in second grade. A few years later, I had designed my first pair of shoes, working for hours to perfect each detail, including whether the laces should be mineral white or diamond white. See what he's doing here? He's showing now, not just he's curious, but also he's very detail focused. He says, even then I sensed that minor differences in tonality could make a huge impact, and different colors could evoke different responses. In high school, I moved on to more advanced projects, teaching myself how to take apart, repair, and customize cell phones. So now he's showing working with his hands. That's the new value or skill. Whether I was adjusting the flex cords that connect the IPS LCD to the iPhone motherboard or replacing the vibrator motor, I have no idea what he's talking about there. That's what I call geeky language to let us know that he knows some stuff about some stuff, as I like to say. I love discovering the many engineering feats Apple overcame in its efforts to combine form with function. Now let's pause right there. This is one of my favorite paragraphs because let's zoom in. Here, he's not just showing the value of working with his hands, right? He's telling us why he cared so much about it. And this is what I call insight. So if the first thing that you got to include in your personal statement to really make it pop is values, the second thing is insight. And how do you get to insight? You answer the question, so what? So yes, you took apart all this stuff. So what? So why did you do that? Here's the insight. I loved discovering the many engineering feats Apple overcame in its efforts to combine form with function. Now I get a little bit of a better sense of why it is you did that. Not just like, oh, I took all these things apart and it's like a brag, a flex, it's like, no, here's what I'm really about. This is what I'm doing. And once I obtained my driver's license, I began working on cars. Many nights you'll find me in the garage, replacing standard chrome trim with an elegant piano black finish. Try and guess what value he's showing here. Or changing the threads on the stitching of the seats to add a personal touch, as I believe a few small changes can transform a generic product into a personalized work of art. I mean, it's kind of obvious, art, right? His creativity. So he's showing you all these different qualities. He's showing you that he's curious, that he's detail focused, that he's interested in, taking things apart with his hands. He's creative. He goes in here now. My love of details applies to my schoolwork too. He's a math geek. So he talks about his math side. And then here he says, I really love sharing this appreciation with others. He says, you probably think I want to be a designer or maybe an engineer. Wrong. Well, kind of. Actually, I want to study endodontics, which is, I'll save you the Wikipedia lookup. I didn't know what that was when I first met him. A branch of dentistry that deals with the tooth pulp and the tissues surrounding the root of a tooth. What? As an endodontist, I'll be working to repair damaged teeth by performing precision root canals and implementing dental crowns. Sound exciting? It is to me. Help me connect the dots. So what? Give me that insight at the end here. The fact is, it's not unlike the work I've been doing repairing cell phone circuits and modifying cars, okay? Though there is one small difference. In the future, I'll still be working to repair machines, but this machine is one of the most sophisticated machines ever created, the human body. Okay, I'm getting it now. Here, my obsession with details will be as crucial as ever. A 1 millimeter difference can mean the difference between a successful root canal and a lawsuit. The question is, will the toothbrushes I hand out be mineral white or diamond white? Right, back to that detail focus. So what is he showing here? He's showing values, right? All those different things, those different sides of himself. So if I'm a college admissions officer, I'm going, wow, this guy's bringing a lot to the table. But then he also brings a lot of insight. Almost every paragraph ends with that so what answer. Finally, he brings a little vulnerability. Vulnerability is like, are you revealing something more than just how you think, right? He reveals he's a math geek, right? Which not everybody thinks is cool. And he's excited by the idea of performing precision root canals. Not everybody thinks that's cool. That's kind of vulnerable to admit, right? And then the fourth quality is craft. Did you clearly revise this? Did you not just do this in one night? Did you work on this over time? Okay. So that's just one example. And again, just to step back a second, it's just one style of essay. It could be that you pick an identity that's important to you. What do I mean by identity? Well, some students focus on a single identity, like being introverted, or maybe their identity is like connected to their name. Some students pick a variety of identities, angry brown girl, feminist singer, meme lover, right? This is a powerful start to the essay. And then each paragraph could show a different side of you, right? So there's some examples in here of that. And then a home. So what's a place that you feel at home? Where do you find your rhythm? It could be that your home is something like, and this student, found her home in the lab. It could be that your home is in the weight room, or it could be that your home is in lots of different places. And then finally, maybe there's a kind of an uncommon extracurricular activity, something you do that's a little bit unusual. I don't personally think that it's a great idea to write about a common extracurricular activity. These are pretty common topics that a lot of students are going to write about: common sports, debate, these kinds of things. I say if you're going to write about an extracurricular activity, make sure that it's something that's a little more uncommon, because it's a little bit harder to stand out. Why? Because if you write about dance, or you write about debate or football, what are you going to talk about? I mean, everybody's going to talk about the same things, right? Hard work, discipline, perseverance. So if you do write about one of those things, if you've already written a personal statement that focuses on one of these common topics, make sure you're focusing on uncommon values. So rather than focusing on discipline, hard work, and perseverance, how could you focus on some other things? Like, how has basketball or dance taught you about autonomy, being able to self-govern? What has it taught you about, independence? Or what has it taught you about democracy? I don't know, I'm just riffing here. So this is if you have not faced challenges, or you've preferred not to write about challenges. That's just one, those are just 7 ways that you can write it if it's not challenges focused. But if you face significant challenges in your life, I want to recommend that you go through this exercise called the feelings and needs exercise. Okay. Now I'm not going to go through it right now because we only have like 5 minutes, but there's a little exercise here and it'll take you about 15 minutes to go through. And again, I'll share the link so you can get access to this. In fact, actually, Kristen, if you wouldn't mind posting the link into the in the Q&A box so that students can get access to that. You'll have to just register for it. It's free. But it'll walk you through how to basically write your essay if you're interested in writing about challenges. Now, my recommendation is to, whether you face challenges or not, to go through the narrative side, which is challenges based, and go through this montage side, like I just showed you, the choose a path, and see if you can read through some of these essays and see if one of these speaks to you. Okay, you'll want to obviously go through the brainstorming side to see, you can start at the beginning here. But what this is a free tool, it's free for you all, that I put together, that's going to basically walk you through the whole college essay process. And it's going to show you how to write your draft. Okay, it's going to tell you how to get feedback on that, how to revise your draft. And then once it's time, it's going to show you how to up-level your essay. Now, if you've already written a draft and you're like, he's starting me at the beginning, but I'm already way past it, I want you to check out this thing called the Great College Essay Test. Now, this Great College Essay Test is going to walk you through in about 10 minutes some of the values that I just talked about: core values, vulnerabilities, so what moments, and craft. And it's going to help you see, okay, how could I check to see if my personal statement is revealing those things? How could I do it a little bit better? Or for if you haven't started, it's going to help you think about those things as you're getting started and choosing your personal statement topic. Okay. So again, this will be useful now, whether you're like midway through the process, or if you're getting ready to start the process, or if you're, say, a sophomore or junior and you're going to start it next year. I see no harm if you've got some time to go ahead and get started thinking about this. The other thing that I want to share with y'all, so that's all personal statement focused, is I put together a bunch of resources. And Kristen, maybe you could share this link as well, called the College Application Hub. Some of the most important things to think about are number one, do you have a great college list that you really are excited about? Do you have some schools that you can for sure get into? In other words, there's like 3 to 4 like likely schools, we call them. If not, here's a link for how to develop a great college list. And it's going to walk you through some free resources for figuring out, okay, how do I figure out which schools I want to apply to based on my interests? How do I even figure out what I'm looking for in a college? All that's covered here. There's also a timeline so that you can kind of map out what should I be doing when. And then some of y'all may be considering applying early action or early decision. Now, in some cases, applying early can actually give you a better chance of getting into certain colleges. Now, you got to make sure that you're really sure. There are a lot of considerations, but this will walk you through what are the things to think about to try and figure out if you have the energy, the will, the desire if early decision is right for your early action. Some other things on here are like some resources for writing your personal statement. A lot of it's going to be in the tool that I mentioned a minute ago. And then some schools, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now, but I just want to touch on these briefly, have what are called supplemental essays, which is to say, let's say you're applying to, I live in LA, so like, let's say you're applying to USC, and they ask for the main college essay, personal statement, which is the one that we've been talking about, but they're also going to ask you, why do you want to attend our school? In here, there's a little guide to like, how do you write that essay? The Why Us essay, we call it. Once you start to put all of what I recommend is put all of the schools you're applying to on a spreadsheet, and then put all of the essays that you're going to need to write, which you can find on the Common App for most schools. And you're going to see that you've got all these prompts to write. But don't worry, you don't have to write you don't have to write 30 essays as you might think initially. You can write something called a super essay, which is an essay that basically is on a particular topic, but it's going to work for multiple different prompts. Okay, I won't get too deep into this right now because we're going to segue to Q&A, but let's say you have to write an essay for a school. They say, describe a community and your place within it for Michigan. And then another essay asks you, share a perspective you bring or experiences to help us understand you better. And then maybe you also have to write one that's like, tell us about something that's meaningful to you and why. Well, a secret is, it's not really a secret, but one thing you can do to save yourself some time is to write one essay that answers all 3 of these. And so with a little bit of planning, you can basically save yourself some time. And actually, it's going to be a better essay because not only are they going to get something that's meaningful to you and why, that one school, but they're also going to find out about a community that's important to you and a perspective that you've developed if you answer all 3. Some other things covered in here that students sometimes don't spend a lot of time thinking about, the activities list. This is like your brag sheet, your resume. There are tips in there for how to up-level that. The additional information section is basically an extra space on your Common App. And it talks to you here about what are some of the things that you can put in there to give context for your application, how to get good recommendation letters, how to do an interview, lots of tips on that. If you're interested in scholarships, there's a how to write a scholarship essay guide here with links to where do you find scholarships, bunch of different examples. A lot of this stuff, by the way, if you lose this link, you can just Google whatever you're looking for and then just add college essay guide and it'll probably bring you back to this. And then some other things, if you are identified as LGBTQ, if you identify as low income or first gen, if you're interested in HBCUs or tribal colleges, if you're undocumented or you're interested in women's colleges, a lot of this stuff's going to be covered here. So thanks, Kristen, for sharing that out. It's just, you can just search College Application Hub if y'all are looking for that. But I've done a lot of talking already. I want to just kick it over to y'all for just a few minutes and see what questions y'all have about the application process or about anything I've shared so far.
Thank you so much, Ethan. I think I can't start my video if you can try to give me access, but in the meantime, thank you so much. So we are going to transition into our Q&A section. So if you all have any questions as we begin to take some of you all's questions, just make sure that you have the question in the Q&A answer box down below in the webinar segment, according to the instructions that I gave everyone at the beginning. So just a reminder, if you put your mouse over the button down below on the Zoom webinar, you'll find that Q&A icon. You can go ahead and press it. So I have one question here from Ariel. It says, what if you may end up struggling to come up with a good topic to write? Great question, Ariel. I will let Ethan, if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I'd love to hear. So Ariel, I want to send you to a specific exercise inside the tool that, again, this is free. Once you log into that tool, I want to show you where to go so you can brainstorm some different ideas. So let me share my screen real quick again. And I'm going to show you, oh, you got to give me back sharing
Oh.
So we just passing back and forth. So
Yeah.
let me show you real quick, Ariel. So essentially what I would suggest is more brainstorming. And what I mean by that is like, you may just not have hit your topic yet. If you feel like you haven't yet, Ariel, you've still got time, okay? So, and the way I did that, Kristen, is I just clicked on my name and then more and then make host.
Yes, yeah, I just get
Cool. All right, cool, thanks. All right,
Yeah.
so inside the tool, once you get inside the tool, all you need to do is like sign in. Like I said, it's free. You go to, there are two things, Ariel. So if you face challenges, click narrative structure. If you feel like you haven't faced challenges or you don't want to write about them necessarily, then click montage structure, okay? And when you get into one of them, so when you get at a narrative section, there's a little video, the one that I mentioned, the feelings and needs exercise, that's going to walk you through about 15 minutes. It's going to give you a potential structure for your essay, right? If you face challenges, and then it's going to walk you through a little example for a student who went through this process and was able to write a powerful story about how his family, you know, he grew up with a lot of abuse in his family. His father was arrested for domestic abuse. He talks about some of those personal challenges, what he did about it, and what he learned through that experience. So that's one possibility. But again, if you feel like, you know what, I feel like I don't want to write about those things, or I want to brainstorm other ideas, then you click the montage side like I just did, and you just go to brainstorming your content. And there's a little video here, and you click play, and it's going to walk you through about a 20-minute exercise where I'm going to basically be talking to you and helping you to brainstorm more ideas. And then it's going to take you to this path thing that I was talking about, where it's going to give you a bunch of different ideas. So what I would say is like, read through these different paths. There are like 2 sample essays for each one. And one of those is bound to click for you. If you spend good time brainstorming, spend maybe 20, 25 minutes brainstorming, one of those hopefully should kind of click in for you. And that'll give you like, it should give you like eight or so different ideas. So that's what I would advise. And that'll be a pretty comprehensive, you know, process, and it's going to walk you through those steps. Is it cool if I just answer them, Kristen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
Yeah.
cool. Let's see. For writing specific essays for different colleges, how do we know that what would the college be interested in hearing? Okay, so broadly speaking, I wouldn't say worry too much about like, what does this college want to hear? Because that's kind of like trying to get dressed and thinking, well, did they like the color blue, or does this person like the color red, or this person like, focus back on what are the skills, values, qualities, interests that I'm bringing with me to the college campus, okay? And so broadly speaking, and so if you've got a particular prompt and you want me to talk about it, I'm happy to. But if it's a why major, like why do you want to go into a particular major? If you just Google why major college essay guy, you'll see a guide for that. Or if it's like a why us essay, like why do you want to attend, you know, Georgia Tech or whatever school it is? If you Google, you know, why us essay, college essay guy, there's a whole guide. So if you've got a specific prompt, let me know and I can kind of talk about it. The other thing that you'll find, if you just Google the name of the school, supplemental essay, college essay guy, you'll probably see a walkthrough for that particular, you know, school. I've done about 50 or so of these posts for like schools that students tend to Google a lot. So if you Google the name of the school plus college essay guy, there's probably a little crash course in that particular school's essays. Is writing about how spontaneous I am a good topic? Brenna, I like that. I think that's cool. That's kind of like the superpower, right? So it could be cool to just do that little brainstorm that I talked about, is like spontaneity, and then talk to me about how this, you know, connects to all these different sides of you, all these different values. Talk to us about how it gets you into trouble sometimes, right? You can bring your sense of humor, your sense of fun, your sense of play. You can bring your intellectual side, right? How is it showing your sense of adventure, not just like physically with stuff you've done, but like, what about in terms of like stuff that you've explored? You know, what do you find yourself Googling like late at night? You know, what are some of those things? You can kind of show your intellectual side. You can show your adventurous side. I mean, I think you could show a lot of different parts of you. You know, if you, I don't know if you're into sports or what you do with your friends, but like, it sounds like that would have a lot of what I call elasticity, like stretch you to talk a lot about a lot of sides of you. So I think that sounds cool. Are good hooks important for these essays? I think that they're somewhat important. Now, I think the most important thing is having a topic that's going to be stretchy enough to talk about lots of different sides of you. And once you find that, so like the spontaneity thing, see if that works. You got to figure out if it's you know, if the middle of your essay is going to work, and then start thinking about, okay, well, how do I start the essay? But I think a lot of times students start talking and thinking about the hook before they find out if their topic is going to work at all. But just so you know, it's covered. If you go into the tool again, if you go to where it says, so this is why I cover like finding a good topic. And then if you go into the writing section, you'll see here 7 ideas for starting your montage essay. So here's 7 different approaches that you can take, 4 approaches that you shouldn't take, and then 7 different ways that you can, you know, write your personal statement. So are they important? Yes. Are they the most important thing? Not so much. What if you have multiple topics to pick from? Is it possible we can make it into one essay? Desmond, tell me more. When you have multiple topics to pick from, which school are you thinking of? I mean, because if it's the personal statement, it doesn't matter too much which prompt you pick. I mean, you can pick topic of your choice. Start from you. Start from what you have to bring, what you have to offer. That's a powerful place to start from. And make sure it's revealing, like I said, values, insight, vulnerability, and craft. And then just pick whichever prompt it works for the personal statement. If it's for the supplements, let's say, for example, I'm thinking about USC for some reason today, but USC's got like 3 different choices for your supplemental essay topics. And what I would advise is once you've got a sense of all the supplemental essays, which again is to say those essays that you need to write for specific schools that are not the personal statement, I think it's really important to make sure that, that you're writing essays that can be reused for other schools, okay? Because again, that's gonna save you some time. It's gonna improve the quality of those essays. When you say, could we make it into one essay? I guess I'm not clear what exactly you mean by that, because you don't need to answer all 3 of the prompts. You can just pick one of those, and then you can make it into one essay that could work for multiple schools. I hope that answers your question. If not, let me know. Oishi, let's see. If we connect with a specific topic, but people say that these topics are oversaturated, should we go ahead because you feel a personal connection? Tell me, Oishi, tell me what is the topic? I'd love to know. Because you feel a personal connection, or avoid the topic due to many people writing with the same topic. So I'd love to hear what the topic is, because then I can give you a little bit more specific feedback. And also I'd love to have more questions from y'all if y'all have them. But Oishi, you know, to give you an example, like some of the most common ones, let's see, talking about my name. No, that's a great topic. Oishi, write about it, okay? Just because it's a common thing to write about, like a student's name, I don't know that they're gonna have another, you know, student writing about the name Oishi. So that's what's gonna help that, you know, your essay stand out, okay? The test for it, again, is can you connect it to lots of different sides of you? Can you connect it to family or culture or, you know, what else? Whatever you feel like you can connect that to and show different sides of you. If you feel like you can, yeah, you got it. You're welcome. If you can connect it to lots of different parts of you, go for it, okay? The ones that I would say steer clear from are those topics that are like, you know, common sports like soccer, or like, you know, common extracurricular activities like dance. You know, those are beautiful, powerful things, but ask yourself, could that be just one part of my personal statement? Because that's not all who you are, right? Could you find, you know, maybe using one of those other paths, something larger, so that you can work that in like one piece of your personal statement, so that it doesn't dominate the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? What other questions do y'all have? We've got a couple minutes here. I'm going to share out that hub, that link to that hub. Just, I don't know if it's easy to, let's see, type answer. I'm just going to throw this. I'm going to throw this just kind of generally for everybody. This is that link to the hub that I was talking about. What if I can't find anything interesting about myself? Sydney, you can do it. It just requires the right questions. Honestly, I feel like you just haven't gone through like brainstorming yet. That's got you, you know, finding those interesting things, because you are interesting. You have some story to tell. You have probably lots of stories that you can tell, okay? It probably just means going through a series of questions. And the one that I mentioned earlier in the tool, you know, it's about 20 minutes, but one of those questions is bound to, you know, trigger something. If you know, if none of that works, if you Google 100, I'm going to just share this one, 100 brave and interesting questions. Let me show you this real quick. I'm going to share my screen again. So if you Google 100 brave and interesting questions, or just Google 100 interesting questions, you'll see a list of questions that might give you some ideas. Okay. So this is a whole huge list of questions, right? But what I would say is before you even get into that, I would say go into the brainstorming exercises that I talked about in the tool. Okay. The ones that say brainstorming here. There's, like I said, that 20-minute video. I swear you'll find something. Okay. If we don't know what major career interests we have, should we just go ahead with a general theme of personal or academic growth? I mean, I wouldn't say you need to go with a general. I mean, I think what you're saying is at the end of your essay, you don't have to necessarily, you're welcome, Sydney. You don't have to necessarily say that's why I'm going to therefore go into this, but I wouldn't say just general personal growth. Okay. Again, by the end of your essay, I think it'd be really important. It's really important if the reader can get some sense of what are those values. So again, if you take a look at that list, and to find this, you can just Google values exercise, college essay guy, and you can find this big list of what are those things that you're going to be, bringing with you to college, you're going to fight for. So I wouldn't say, for example, at the end of your essay, I hope to continue to grow in college, because, anybody could say that, right? It's like, what are those things that are going to be important to you, no matter what your career is, right? But yeah, to answer, I think the question you were asking is like, do you have to talk about your career at the end? No, for sure you don't. And you might not even want to, because it could be that a college is asking you, like, why do you want to participate in a particular major? Why do you want to take this major? In which case you definitely wouldn't want to talk about it. So, you got anything else?
Well, thank you so much, Ethan, for the helpful presentation. So everyone, just be sure to go ahead and explore your college options in our virtual college fair immediately right after this presentation. I see we have one more question.
You just said this was great.
Perfect. So there are more than 50 interactive colleges booths where you all can watch videos. You guys can download materials. You guys can also even chat live with the admissions representatives. You guys will find that some booths are on the schedule with their own live presentations. So just make sure that you all visit the college fair now so that you can enjoy the experiences. Let's see, we have one more. Okay. So just remember that if you all engage with at least 10 colleges during the fair, then you guys will be entered into the drawing to win Apple AirPods or Amazon gift cards. The more colleges you visit, then the higher your chances are of winning. So that concludes our presentation for this evening. Remember that you all can come back to the event page at any time to watch any of the recordings, or specifically this recording that you missed. They all should be up and posted tomorrow. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy the college fair. Thank you, Ethan. Everyone, have a good evening.